The automotive world has developed so much over after a century of existence that there are solutions or concepts which were given a chance to prove themselves but are not likely to appear ever again. One such story is the straight 8-cylinder engine. As the name suggests, this layout has all 8 cylinders mounted in a line, which creates a very narrow but incredibly long unit. In its natural shape, it is inherently balanced in primary and secondary forces, and there is no need for larger counterweights on the crankshaft. That means that it was a perfect drive unit for luxury and racing cars. Isotta Fraschini was the first one introducing the Type 08 in 1919, having a 5.9-liter overhead cam engine with 80 horsepower. That was in Europe, and the first US-made Straight-8 model was made by Duesenberg, the Model A with a 4.3-liter 88 horsepower overhead cam engine. Interestingly, the engine only had 3 main bearings and the peak power at 3600 RPM. These engines ran very smoothly, but as a typical long inline engine, its crankshaft produced torsional vibrations. This type of vibrations cannot break outside the engine, and driver cannot feel them, but it is enough to destroy the crankshaft itself. The higher the RPM the engine turns, the worse it is. The use of a harmonic damper is pretty much a must. That's why a Straight-8 was a reasonable design for aircraft applications. Aerodynamic efficiency and perfect primary balance. Units like the Mercedes D4 were only turning at 1400 RPM, hence the length of the crankshaft and cam were not such a problem. After World War I, just after the Isotta Type 08, a Leyland 8 appeared at an international motor exhibition in 1920, featuring a 2500 RPM 6.9 and a 3500 RPM 7.3-liter engines. The crankshaft spun at 5 main bearings. The world liked the Straight-8, and many more manufacturers began development and actually built production and functional racing machines with it. It was specifically brands like Bugatti, Mercedes, Stutz, Stern Knight, Maserati, and Alfa Romeo, some of them with Grand Prix race cars. The first Silver Arrows, as the community knew them, were Mercedes racing cars, the W25 and W125, powered by supercharged inline 8 cylinders. They had from 300 to over 700 horsepower, with a very loud road supercharger. Where this design was really well received and liked was the United States of America. Over a dozen companies were using it: Chandler, Marmon, Lycoming, Pontiac, Buick, Oldsmobile, Packard, Hudson, Cord, Studebaker, Nash, REO, and Duesenberg. Interestingly, there was an automotive company called Flexible, which made intercity coaches with the Buick Straight-8. Low-octane gasoline and low engine efficiency meant that these engines could last until the late 1950s in the USA, although European manufacturers wrote them off earlier for high gasoline prices and a worse economic situation after World War II. Some inline 8s were made with 5 main bearings, which is not ideal for the maximum possible block strength and least possible crankshaft whip. The crankshaft whip could cause a connecting rod to touch the engine block wall and destroy it. With the rising requirements for higher efficiency, tougher construction, and mainly more compact design, a crossplane V8 was gaining a lot more favor. One of the youngest and longest living automotive inline 8s was the Rolls-Royce B series, used in various military vehicles by Alvis as well, the Saracen, Saladin and Stalwart. Some of them were designed in a diesel variant as well, but are a bit more challenging to find. The Mari Spell was a marine engine, Rolls-Royce made a turbocharged genset, and Scania made a handful of straight-8 cylinders from 1939 to 1954, from 10.3 to 11.3 liters, with an incredible soundtrack. They may be used in marine applications today, but the story of an automotive inline 8-cylinder ended decades ago.